Hi everyone, I'm Mark and this is the 8th episode of the Saudi Football Fanatics podcast. Welcome guys.
Hi.
Hi everyone, and thank you for keeping up the channel during my survival tour. Actually, it was fantastic, but now it's time to focus on the most important things, which is definitely Saudi football.
Before that, just let's ensure our listeners that there were no issues with András, which is a miracle, really.
So after this miracle and a short break, we are coming back to you with a slightly changed format. Our plan is to provide you with more and shorter episodes and more likely with in-depth analysis next to the news. We believe that this way much more information can get to you and will not miss any important info regarding Saudi football. In the framework of this, today we will mainly speak about the resurrection of Damac. But before Damac, let's summarize the Asian Champions League, the King's Cup, and talk a little bit about the transfer window.
Okay, should I start with the Champions League then?
Yeah.
Okay, the gods of the Champions League were in the favor of the Saudi teams, it seems, as all four of them qualified for the knockout stage, which is a very great success for the country. We would also like to congratulate Al Ittihad, Al Nasser, Al Hilal, and Al Fayha for this wonderful achievement. Moreover, the three PIF teams all won their groups, and in the last round, Al Fayha, with a 4-1 crushing victory over Paktakor in Tashkent, take over the second place of its group, and by that secured qualification for the knockout stage as well.
Yeah, it's just a one sentence. It's great to see that India and Al Fayha became victorious and progress. It's very nice.
Yeah, happy for them.
Beyond these Saudi teams, do not forget to mention Adam, who was his team's best again, and with his 2 goals against, or not against, but in Ulsan Hyundai, reached the round of 16 as well. Now he has 5 goals, just like Mitrovic, and he is only 1 goal behind the leader Talisca. Maybe we will see him in the Saudi League in the future if he keeps this pace up.
Yeah, we wouldn't be surprised, but as we move to potential transfers, let's talk about an actual topic, because I think many of you may have heard about the Premier League looking at the opportunity to ban loan deals with Saudi clubs. The root of this issue is Newcastle. As you may already know, the majority owner of Newcastle is the same PIF owning Al Hilal, Al Nassr, Al Ittihad and Al Ahli. So these clubs are, let's use the legal term, related parties, which could mean that with loan deals, Newcastle may circumvent financial fair play rules, which obviously is not an issue for Saudi clubs, let's say, thankfully. But in light of the unprecedented injury crisis of Newcastle, their FFP constraints, and the daily transfer rumors that they would like to sign a loan deal for Al Hilal midfielder Ruben Neves this winter, this is quite a hot and actual topic. So let's look into it really shortly. There was a vote amongst the Premier League clubs about the topic, about the loan ban, and news outlets reported that anyway, it is a highly unusual situation that when a motion is presented to the Premier League clubs, they vote against it, and usually everything which is put on the table to pass a resolution is accepted. But this time the proposal was rejected by the league. Obviously Newcastle voted against the change which would ban Saudi loans, and the other clubs, just for an interesting fun fact, were Manchester City, who would have guessed, Burnley, Nottingham Forest, Chelsea, Sheffield United, Wolves and Everton. So the idea of the transfer, or rather, let's say, loan ban, was narrowly but rejected, because if you calculated the numbers, 7 clubs voted against the idea, and I didn't know, but now we actually researched, we all know that 14 votes would have been required to pass the resolution. So if you deduct the 7 clubs voting from all of the clubs. Funny, you get the number that it's narrow vote because only 13 voted in favor. So in the end, almost, but no transfer ban. So just to end this probably very dull analysis on this topic, sorry about it. It would be interesting to see if Newcastle would raid the Russian Saudi League to solve their injury crisis, which I think is highly likely. And if they do, then, for example, another interesting topic is how would Al Hilal replace Ruben Neves, who is obviously one of their key players?
Okay, thank you, Jura, for this news and introduction, and also for this mathematical thinking and figures that you presented to us. Based on this, it seems a good decision by Newcastle that they didn't press the wrong button on the voting. But let's continue with the King Cup. In the King Cup, the top 2 contenders of the RSL, Hilal and Nasser, both made it to the semi-finals, and both of them did so with an impressive win with 3 goals difference. Al Hilal has beaten Tavoon easily on home ground by 3-0, which was a slight surprise given Tavoon's stable defense so far in the RSL. On the other match, Nasser scored 5 and conceded only twice on the Riyadh derby in the stadium of Al Shabab, which team, for our deepest regret, unfortunately keeps being the disappointment of the season, at least for us. The King Cup could have saved their season, really, but instead they conceded 5 times, which is simply unacceptable. Manager Igor Bischan will need to make key decisions soon, as the bench quickly started to wobble under him. Nevertheless, with these wins, Hilal and Al Nassr still remained in contest for winning a treble, with Hilal having the more chance, obviously, with their 7 points advantage over Nasser in the RSL.
You may recall that in the last episode, we made predictions on the cup results, and if I remember correctly, Mark forecasted a Tavoon victory. What a joke.
What an expert. On the third match, Al Khalay eliminated Abha and marched into the semi-finals.
Yeah, poor Abha, but still I think the fans should be really proud of their team's cup performance. Obviously not the current performance in the league, because that's abysmal, but their cup results were really, really very good.
Yeah, just wanted to say that in our last recording, we gave Abha the nickname Unbeatable. I regret to say, but we have to take this away from them. They got a bit cocky after listening to our last episode, it seems, and they started to lose every match since then. So
they lost 4 matches in a row. So I don't say that they are quite unbeatable.
Okay, so that's a conclusion. We are taking it away from Abha, but it's not final. If they improve, they can get it back. Sorry, Abha. But as regards Al Khalay, from this point onwards, whatever happens, they had a beautiful King Cup campaign. They are already in the semi-final. But let's see, maybe they will further amaze us. The fourth quarterfinal will only be played 1 week later because it is played by Al Ittihad, who is visiting the stadium of Al Faisali, the sole remaining contender from the Yellow League. And Al Ittihad is, as we preparing this recording, as we are doing this recording, is playing in the FIFA Club World Cup first round. So yeah, let's cheer for them. But because of this, their King Cup quarterfinal was postponed. And as mentioned, in this King Cup, they will visit Al Faisali. We don't need to mention how Al Ittihad needs this win, given the recent form. But the rest of the country will most probably cheer for the success of the smaller team, as always. If I would need to put money on this match, obviously I would choose Al Ittihad. They have much more chance to be objective. But, football has its own romantic story. So let's see.
Russian.
Saudi League. And after the King Cup, and before we start to analyze the tactics of Damac, or as Ten Hag would say, tactic of Damac, we should speak about Nkudu. I think he's the one I joked about in our transfers related episodes.
Again,
and now
our beautiful expert.
yeah, and now he has 13 goals and 4 assists in the RSL and became the most important player on the attacking side next to Stanchu. They are two absolute incredible signings for just 2.5 million euros.
Yes, and don't forget about Assam Cisse either, who may not be as effective as Nkudu, but already scored 7 goals as well. 6 of these in the RSL. Not bad for a signing of only, if I recall correctly, 2.8 million euro.
Yeah, you recall correctly, and if you are already talking about the transfers, I think this is the main decisive factor. If you recall our transfer episodes, if you don't, then please watch them because there's a lot of important information there. But we analyzed and saw a lot of teams completely transforming their player base in the summer, and obviously Damac was not an exception. Although if we check other teams, then we can also conclude that Damac was not making as big of an overhaul of their squad as, for example, Alcalá, as the latter literally changed their entire starting lineup and more. But back to Damac, about half of the first team was changed, basically the midfield and the attacking department, where Abdulaziz Al-Shahrani can be a familiar face for long-term Damac Ultras, and Croatia international midfielder Domagoj Antolic, who joined them in 2021, but the rest of the faces are new guys. So you may ask, why did they want to focus on the attacking department so much? Well, obviously, you can see the results now, but to answer this question, let's have a look at the last year's table, where you can see that Damac finished in the 8th position, which is anyway not bad. We could also say impressive. It's the upper end of the mid-table. But if you watch more closely, a lot of teams are congested around them with similar points, or they're very close to each other. And the only reason Damac was superior to them is their somewhat stronger defense, or let's say that the defense of the other teams were simply terrible. And on the other hand, Damac only scored 33 goals in, let's say, 30 matches, which is not a lot. But obviously, we can see that a famous manager at Manchester United is doing quite well with similar match goal ratio. So there is a certain tactic which can work. Tactic. But if you look at it from a realistic point of view, you can understand why the focus was on bringing in new faces to the midfield and the attacking department mainly. And this is where George Nkudu is really the brightest surprise of the season, I think. Because, yes, I joked about Mark, who joked about him, but let's be fair, I understand why he was skeptical, because he didn't put the word alight at Tottenham. He's not a remarkable figure in Premier League history.
Not really, and yes, just a quick recap for those who are not familiar with his history. He rarely played in the London-based team and were quickly loaned out, first to Burnley, and then to Monaco. But he did not change, to be honest, the word in these clubs either. And afterwards, he started to redefine himself in Besiktas. And after 4 years in Turkey, he arrived to Kamis Mushait, the home city of Damac Football Club. And that was a great decision, it seems.
Yeah, obviously, as things stand now, we can say that, but I would be a little bit cautious on making way too big conclusions yet. We'll see. But facts are facts. He's only third to Ronaldo and Mitrovic on the goal scorer list as it stands, and clearly he is currently in a very fine form, as he scored a very impressive 7 goals in the last 3 matches. So let's see if he can keep up his form, and surely, as things stand, Damac could be one of the biggest surprises of the season. But let's not only talk about Nkudu, because we already covered Stanchu in I think an earlier episode in particular, who is a real boss in the midfield of Damac, and we can also guess that Assane Cisse will score above 10 goals this season based on his current goal tally of 6. Just to put it into perspective, last season the top scorer of Damac was Hilal Sudani with the similar 6 goals. So Cisse is already there, and it's only halfway this season. So I think this answers the question. The new signings are really the matter what changed Damac's fortune.
Yes, it must be mentioned that Damac is second only to Hilal, Nasser, and Al Ahly this season in terms of goals scored. If you look at the expected goals stat, they are overscoring their expected goals figure, which is a huge praise to their attacking segment. Only Hilal and Nasser have higher positive difference between their actual goals scored and their expected goals figures. It will be interesting to watch whether Damac can continue with this trend of always scoring, or if Victor Lendvai, accredited Arsenal and Premier League fanatic, will be right by saying that on the long run this difference will be leveling off. If it depends on the current form of Nkudu, Cisse, Al Shakrani and Stanciu, then I would bet on Damac. They don't need great chances, they only need to score, and as they did so far, very efficiently.
About these expected goals, let me remind you and Victor Landvay and whoever believes in XG that this game is played for goals and not XG or whatever ridiculous numbers. Sorry.
Thank you for the reminder. I will keep it in mind.
Okay, thanks, Yula. And now back to Damac. So, if you watch closely, Damac started its season in different forms, almost for each game, which resulted in 3 points only in 5 games. And everybody thought that they would be top candidates for the relegation. But in the 6th round, something changed. Not the result, because they still lost against Vegda. But I think they found their appropriate formation in which they play from that point on, sometimes escalating to a more attacking 4-3-3. From their last 10 matches, they only lost one against Al Nassr in Riyadh, for which we could certainly say that that is not a must win, and collected 21 points, by which they came up to the 6th position from the 17th position. In this run, they had draws against the most powerful teams like Hilal, Ahly or Tabun, and also confidently beat Ittihad. But what is this? What is behind this? And how could they become so good? In this run, their average shots were way above 10, and also their expected goals never fell under 1. From the point when we have information of this, of course. And also they overscored their expected goals, as Andrus mentioned. One of the reasons, beyond the invention of their formation, could be that injuries avoided them in most of the cases, and their core remained the same. For some matches, slight changes have been made, for example, in the position of Hamed.
Yeah, but I think, let me just take it back. I think the transfers are the transfers were the decisive factor, because Hamed is a new guy. And on the other hand, imagine poor Ittihad fans who thought that they can upgrade him with bigger names, and then they get demolished by Damac after their already terrible run of form. So, yeah, poor Ittihad, and Hamed's experience, it seems, as we predicted, can be invaluable for Damac in the long run.
Yeah, and not only Hamed, but also Munshi got his chance on that position, in that defensive midfielder's position, and proved himself as well. Or in other position, for example, in the lone striker, where the number one option is obviously Cisse, who has already scored 6 goals in the RSL, but also his rivals proves themselves.
Yeah, just wanted to say that manager Cosmin Contra started to prefer Abdulaziz Al Shakrani as starting forward, and Cisse was only a substitute to the Saudi forward in the last 4 matches.
Yeah, and so just to conclude something from my side, for me, the main reason behind their recent success is the continuity itself, but also we must not forget that they do not play on an international field, and also the cup came to an end for them already in the 2nd round.
Yes, and sorry, I don't want to get back to previous topic, but I have a couple of additional thoughts about Hamed, because Hamed seems to play a crucial role in Damac's successful campaign so far. In the same way, he helped Al Ittihad win the RSL last year. he seems to be a key signing.
Sorry for
Damac.
interrupting here, but Hamed was not a core team starter for Etihad last season. But yeah, he was an important player nonetheless.
Yeah, but still, so Etihad did not win that much margin, so they needed every help. Amongst others, Hamed, who joined Damac and shines against Damac as well, and yeah, he joined in early September, so again, just before the match against Vechta in the 6th round, which we call as a turning point. In the 6th round, everything changed, it seems. Right after that, they managed to secure a point against Al Hilal. And from that match onwards, they are basically unbeatable, unlike Abha. The defensive midfielder, sorry for the Abha fans.
Yeah, sorry about this laugh.
Yeah. The defensive midfielder position, it seems, keeps being a key position in modern football as well, where quality players are simply essential.
Yeah, I hope you don't hate me for interrupting you again, as I did in the last minutes quite a few times. But let me raise.
No, I hate you for totally different reasons.
So. Yeah, it's good to know. So I'm safe on this side. But let me remind everyone that one of the biggest nightmare of European football fans is coming. I mean the African Cup. But there is some good news for Damac fans, as Hamed is not going to travel to the AFCON, as he recently announced his retirement from international football. And the reason behind this absence from the national squad and his retirement is basically some differences with the Egypt's head coach, who apparently had some problems with his behavior in the training camp. But we can just really speculate what happened here. But the solution was Hamed retiring. So, given this fact and his age, it's not a surprise that he will no longer participate in the national team's fixtures, but it's all the better for Damac. So not only his focus will be solely on the club, but injuries on international level are excluded for him as well.
And sorry to interrupt again, but regarding the African Cup, because it could be an important point for all the Saudi teams, but for example, because of Mahrez or Mane for the big ones, but the AFCON will take place in January in the break of the RSL, so it won't be a problem for the league anyway. Just for some joke leagues, for example, for the Premier League and so on. But yes, that was my comment only.
Yes, so basically the advantage of not traveling to the AFCON will be the higher chance to avoid injuries and to being much fresher for the next phase of the
basically RSL. Because summarize that half the things I said are already let's say rejected, but it's a kind reminder to everyone who is watching.
Yeah, you are just an expert like me, so
I just want to kindly remind everyone that based on these comments, it's much more benefiting to watch Saudi football than European football, where this type of tournaments can give you a headache.
Yeah. Okay, but let's go back to the successes of Damac, and it would be unfair if we would just say that it's all because of Hamed or some changes or some accuracy on the attacking side. Because if you're looking into reasons of the recent successes of Damac, then we must not forget about the significant changes in their defense, especially on the left and right back positions. All changes occurred here, again, repeating ourselves, before the Al Fechta match as well. So before the 6th round, as we highlighted earlier, Abdullah Al-Amar left and joined Al-Akhli in early September. Cosmin Contrast's solution was, however, not a new signing here, but giving the opportunity for Dalisayar Al-Anazi to shine. And he was not mistaken. Al-Anazi, this young Saudi back, is proving himself very well, guarding the left side of Damac heroically. Although I have to mention that based on Opta stats, his position is the only one currently where Damac's ball possession on Damac's own half is lower than its opponents. But as confidence will come, and it will surely come, so will ball control and accuracy as well. But so far, this was a very nice debut by Al-Anazi. On the right side of the defense, Hassan Al-Shamrani and Abdullah Al-Hafsavi were both dropped out of the squad and were not registered for a single RSL match since the end of September. Their position was basically taken over by Sanusi Al-Hafsavi. So another Al-Hafsavi, this is Sanusi Al-Hafsavi, so do not exchange them, do not mix them up. And Sanusi Al-Hafsavi was signed from Al-Ettifaq before the 6th round. So all in all, we can say that Cosmin Contra concluded and said that, okay, this was the first 5 rounds, which was tragic. And he reacted very well for this disastrous first 5 rounds and stopped the falling with immediate changes in structure and found the best pieces for this structure, which by this time operates very well and cannot be taken lightly by anyone. All in all, Hamed with Damac is logging now only 3 points behind his former team, Al Ittihad. Who would have thought?
Definitely not me. But I think it's a good closing of the day. So this was all for this episode. If you liked it, follow and rate us on Spotify, and also check us on Instagram and Facebook under the account of Saudi Football Fanatics. As an additional info, you will have the chance to meet us on other sites soon. See you.